friends. Grace and peace to you today. Heather and I want to invite you on a journey with us this summer through John's Gospel. Over the last few weeks, we've explained a little bit about why we're taking this journey together and also some of the ways that might look like. But today, I just want to spend a few more minutes giving more details about why are we going through John's Gospel and why spend such a long time just soaking in these 21 chapters. And then give a few more details about how to read the Bible for us and then what's that actually look like from day to day. So first, why are we going through John's Gospel? For us, it's 3 words: theology, mission, and formation. Let's start with theology. John chapter 20 says this: Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. By the way, wouldn't you just love to see John's notes? Like, what were the other stories that he didn't write in John's gospel or in his gospel that just for us might be incredible or amazing? Maybe one day we'll get to read them. He goes on to say this: but these words, that is, are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. So the move of John is to make a theological claim that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing and by trusting in Jesus, we would then have life in his name. Think about, on just our campus alone, how many belief systems and trust structures claim that they will give you life. Think about all the ways that students try to believe in something or trust in something, and from that, find life in it, but eventually they find it gives no life at all. So John makes a claim that really by believing in Jesus, that he is the Messiah, that he is the Son of God, that then we move toward having life in his name, life forever that actually starts now. So one of the reasons we're going through John's Gospel is theology, the belief in Jesus, and that by believing in him, we have life in his name. Number 2, mission. This is later in John chapter 20. Again, Jesus says, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you." Check out this movement. God sends Jesus by the power of the Spirit. Jesus sends the disciples by the power of the Spirit. And disciples have been sending disciples by the power of the Spirit for over 2,000 years. And for some reason, God sent you and God sent me to Murray State by the power of his Spirit. So why are we here? We are here to continue to live the mission of God on our campus. And what does that look like? Well, you see it all through John's Gospel. In John, the language is a little different than some of the other Gospels or even in the rest of the New Testament. But you see this kind of idea of that Jesus is pouring out his love, his sacrificial, self-giving, selfless love. And it is that love that we then pour out for the sake of the world. So we are going through John's Gospel to see what this mission looks like. How do we join in what God is already doing in the world? Number 3, the idea of formation. One of the beautiful things for me about John's narrative is what I like to call transforming narratives, transforming stories. There are these really, really fine-tuned individual stories where Jesus encounters someone in the Gospel of John, and that person goes away utterly transformed. That based on their encounter with Jesus, their life is forever changed. And so we too need to encounter these stories in the Gospel of John and encounter Jesus through his Spirit and be transformed by them. So that not only are we transformed, but what God does in and through us, we then can do in the world to live as a part of his mission as we believe and find life in his name. So that's a few reasons why we're going through the Gospel of John this summer. Another thing, just to unpack real quickly, how do we read the Bible? We could spend a lot of hours talking about how to read the Bible. And even the fact that what is the Bible is a major question right now. We got to handle that too, but we'll do that in different contexts. So just 4 quick things about how do we read the Bible. Number 1, we probably need to start with who God is. I think the Bible is primarily about God. It's about how people have wrestled with who God is. And so there are lots of ways to kind of unpack that idea, but especially as you read a story, what is this story or what is this text telling us about God? I think that's the first question we need to run to as we read through John's Gospel this summer. Number two, it's kind of the question of humans, humanity, anthropology, the study of humans. What are the humans doing here? And so as we read and we encounter who God is, who are the humans? What are they doing? How does this text then tell us about humans, about the narrative, about what's actually happening here on earth as people encounter Jesus from heaven? What's that look like? And then number three, I think we need to read the Bible missionally. So we take this idea of who God is and read that through the lenses of who humans are, and then that pushes us to read it missionally. In other words, how does this text invite us to love people as we have been loved? How do we continue to join God's mission if we were to actually live out this text? Imagine that we were to actually live in the stories of John's gospel, to see them all around you, and then have those stories translated 2,000 years and planted on our campus. What would it look like for those stories to actually happen all around us on our campus and for us to live in them from day to day and love people the way that we have been loved? And number four, I think we read the Bible formationally. Now, that sounds really fancy, the same way that missionally does. But the idea that the Bible is just for information, I think is just short-sighted. Sure, there's lots of information in the Bible, but I think the Bible really calls us to be people that are in formation, people that are being formed and shaped and molded by the Bible. This is one of the reasons we're going to go through John's Gospel a little slower. You're actually going to be asked to read each chapter 3 to 5 times, maybe even more. That as we meditate on Scripture, as we soak in it, as we actually kind of take it in and chew it a little bit and then eat it and see what it does in our body, I think God's Spirit's going to mold us and shape us through that process. Sure, totally. We're supposed to read it for information, to be obedient what we believe God has called us to here. But it's also supposed to do something in us. It's supposed to actually shape and mold us in some way. So we're going to go a little slower through John's Gospel to read it also formationally. So the question there just might be this: who will I become if I actually embody this text or embody this story? And so the 4 questions that you can read each time that you sit down with John's Gospel this summer are these. What does this text tell us about God? Number 2, what does this text tell us about humans? Number 3, how does this text invite us to love as we have been loved? And number 4, who will I become if I actually embody this text? So we're looking not only theologically and anthropologically, we're looking missionally and formationally. That's a lot of Elise. Sorry. God, humans, mission, formation. That's it. So that's what we're trying to invite you to this summer, is reading and engaging Scripture this way, especially over the next few months through John's Gospel. So this is the way it's going to look. You will be sent, actually today, a PDF including all of our schedule for the summer. So starting on June 1st and going all the way through July 31st, you have videos and scriptures and all of these links embedded within this PDF. So feel free each day just to open up the PDF, click on a link, and go to a scripture for the day, read it in whatever translation you'd like to. And then also every day you'll actually have a video. Another way to be involved in this is actually just to check your email. We're going to send an email every day of the week. And what will be included in that email is the scripture for the day, and then a video that's either by somebody else that they've done a lot of awesome work to get a video on what John's Gospel looks like, or here's the overall structure, or here's something really fine-tuned you need to hear, or you're going to get a video from Heather and me. We've been recording videos just to send these out, just as a way of kind of a morning mindset or a morning motivation, just to get you headed in the right way. And so we've got multiple ways for you to engage with John's Gospel this summer. Then, at the bottom of your PDF, we've actually just listed all of these resources separately. So there are videos, and there are lectures, there are audio clippings, that's not a phrase. There are ways for you to encounter the Gospel of John through audio. So an easy way is just to download the Holy Bible app. It's the Life Church. It's their church's app they made for the world. It's awesome. You should download it. But you can check out that and get the audio. Another thing that you'll see included in this PDF are additional readings for John's Gospel. Most of these readings from day to day will take you 10 to 15 minutes. Maybe less if you read a little faster. Maybe a little longer if you read a little slower. But really, it's not that long to read 1 or 2 chapters of John per day. So for some of you, you're thinking, hey, I might have more than 10 minutes a day. I might have 20 minutes or 30 minutes to devote to actually being present with Jesus each day. Fantastic. I think most of us actually have that every day. So at the bottom of this PDF, you'll actually see some different resources. And so we list some books that, hey, if you've got an extra 5 minutes, you might check out one of these really simple commentaries. One of them is by a guy named N.T. Wright. You've heard me talk about him a lot, but he has commentaries that are called John for Everyone. And it's just a really simple way for you to read this text and then have a little bit more explanation done, a little bit more unpacking, a little bit more of a world painted for you to kind of engage the world of John. Then you can keep reading with different books. There's one by Tim Keller called Encounters with Jesus. It's more of a popular level book that takes a few of the stories of Jesus in John and just unpacks them in different ways. And so there are a few other resources down there that for those of you who say, yeah, I've got a few more minutes than just 10 or 15 to read through these chapters, you might check out some of those. And don't forget, if you have questions, just email me, text me, group me, whatever. We'll get you hooked up and headed in the right way. The last thing that you'll see included in this PDF is actually an introduction to John's Gospel. It is included in the overall structure, in the dates and the calendar there. It'll also be included in the emails. But in case you want to soak in that and print it off and have a few more days to process what that is, it's really beneficial. It's written by a guy named Mike Strauss. He teaches New Testament and the Gospels and things like that. And so really good stuff here. Hey, we want you to go on this journey with us. I know that was a lot of information, but most of it's in the PDF, and we want you to take this journey. We want you to experience John's Gospel with us. And here's one of the reasons why we're doing John's Gospel. I asked a man a few years ago who teaches at a Christian university, and he was a missionary for years. His parents were missionaries for years. And I asked him, you've been all over the world. I mean, you've been to different countries and different languages and met people from every different sphere of life that are totally new to Jesus and have never heard of him, and then also totally sold on Jesus, just need to recommit to a life in him. I said, where do you go? Where do you have them to go? And he said, oh, it's easy. I tell them to read John. And I thought, all right, let's read John. You fast forward a few years later, and one of my mentors, we were just having a conversation one day about what it looks like to actually disciple students, and especially students who are kind of coming to faith for the first time, but really are coming back to faith for the first time. I asked him the same question. Where do you go? Where do you start with students? He said, oh, I always go to the Gospel of John. Well, all right. So that's a missionary, PhD professor, and a on-the-ground campus minister, both saying, hey, in every aspect that I've traveled the world, and I've been with college students, and I've been with people young and old, whether they're new to faith or coming back to faith, I think you start with the Gospel of John. So that's one of the reasons we're starting here, because one of our greatest desires is not for you just to be a disciple of Jesus, but to make a disciple. So to be a disciple by trusting and following Jesus and becoming like him, but also to make a disciple, to help somebody trust and follow Jesus. How incredible would your journey be if by the time you were a senior in college, you could write a name on a piece of paper and say, I took this person through the Gospel of John, and I think beyond a shadow of a doubt that I have helped them trust and follow Jesus because of what God did through his scripture by his Spirit. I was just there to encounter it with him. What an amazing journey. And so we're going to go through John's Gospel this summer and really try to unpack what that looks like, not only for us to be a disciple of Jesus, but to make disciples with Jesus. Hey, we love you. We are so excited for this journey together. Please make sure to email us, text us if you have any questions. We will see you really, really soon. Have a blessed day.